in order to help restore peace and harmony, I would gladly do so. I've been doing that all my life, and even when I was in the country before coming here, and when the Constitution was in force, assuming the Constitution has been abrogated now, when it was in force, I'm supposed to be a constitutional head of state, and I'm referred to as other constitutional heads of state as father of the country. And we have proved that an opposition can exist in Africa and also succeed. I don't agree with some writers in the British press who are beginning to say that Mr. Ian Smith may be wrong after all in transferring power to an African majority. I think that those people generalize. If they have to write within the context of the experience of Nigeria, they will agree.
Does assumption of power affect you?
From the information at my disposal, the cabinet decided to transfer power to him as the general officer commanding the armed forces. It means an abdication of power. And it means then the suspension of the president, the prime minister, the 4 regional governors, and the 4 regional premiers. In other words, the civilian authorities have found it impossible to maintain law and order, and have transferred same to the military authorities until law and order can be maintained.
Are you or your cabinet setting a time limit on this assumption of power?
I'm not in position to say because I wasn't there, but the acting president in a telephone conversation to me merely mentioned that cabinet met and unanimously and voluntarily agreed to abdicate power. I'm assuming in the light of previous practice elsewhere in the world that it will be temporary.
But this military government could last 6 months or a year or even 2 years.
That's been the case in other parts of the world, and I wouldn't rule that out.
President, is it likely that General Ironsi's temporary power could be...
Minister Sir Albert Magai last week in Lagos, he said, or he led me, and those who think like me, to believe that Britain could not have used force because of reasons of logistics. If therefore Britain cannot use force against his own colony, I don't see how Britain could be in position to render military assistance to a friendly government which asks for it. This is purely academic, of course, because the British government can always decide to do what they like. But I feel that since African states felt annoyed at the inability of the government to use force in Rhodesia for logistical reasons, it would be very embarrassing to the present government to do so in view of the fact that some African states had already broken relations from Britain on that reason.
Can I put it another way, yes, President? But if the Nigerian cabinet or General Ironsi invited British military troops to aid this coup or mutiny, yes, would this be acceptable to you?
If the cabinet did that, yes. If General Ironsi did that, I'm not in position to say anything because he's in charge, he's in control, and he is in position to decide what to do in the circumstances. It's possible he had insufficient force or sufficient weapons, and like a soldier, he felt that's what he should do. But I've only pointed out the embarrassing situation to Britain in view of this delicate issue on Rhodesia. Some of us feel very strongly about it, and when we had the explanation given, well, we thought it might be the answer, logistics, but it's strange that a country as powerful as Britain is not in position to do so to a crown colony which enjoys internal self-government.
This unrest now has been going on for many, many months. Can you see it ending in a breakup, a complete breakup of the Federation?
Well, it's unfortunate to reply to this question, but you have based it on facts. It is true that we had trouble in the Tiv division for almost a year or more. And since the elections in western Nigeria last October, we've had a series of violent outbursts and riots so that it could lead to anything. Well, we are a federation, and all federations are usually subjected to stresses of different kinds. We as a young nation, 5 years old, have been subjected to such stresses. Well, occasionally we refer to this as our teething troubles. So it is possible to lead to a breakup of the Federation. But there are some of us who are given a lifetime to preserve the unity of the country. Is it all right, Mr. Duffy? All right now.
Your Excellency, do you think that this will be the end of the Nigeria as we see it at the moment? We don't need a reply. Your Excellency, how soon do you intend to go back to Nigeria? In what way do you think you can help now that General Ironsi has abolished the office of President? Do you think that General Ironsi is acting purely to restore order? The British High Commissioner was at the cabinet meeting yesterday in Lagos. Do you think that this could result in the use of British troops in Nigeria? Thank you.
Just a couple of notes.